Okay, good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of Iyar, May 21st. We're going to start with Sfiras HaOmer. Today is the 28th day. Let's find it inside page 138. 138, I believe. Here we go. Hayoim. Together. Hayoim Shmaina ve'esrim yoim shehem arba'a shavuos la'omer. Today is 28 days, which is 4 weeks of the Omer. Okay, as I mentioned in the WhatsApp, today's Tanya is very Kabbalistic, very esoteric, very spiritual in nature. Our neshamas need to hear it. We have to try to understand it on some basic intellectual level. And if it's in the Tanya, it means it's important for us to learn about. So the purpose of the tzimtzum, what is the tzimtzum? The contractions that God hides his powerful godly light. So much so that it created and animates our lowly physical world. So that's the whole purpose of the tzimtzum. I'm sorry, that's Monday. Tuesday. Today's lesson. The infinite light is termed circular energy. And we're still continuing with this idea of tzimtzum. So it wasn't a mistake, but yesterday we began to discuss the purpose of tzimtzum. And today we continue with the infinite light, the Or Ein Sof. We were comparing this infinity to the world, let's say the finite world. So the infinite light is termed circular energy. What does that mean? We'll explain in a moment. Because it cannot enter the recipient internally. Because the latter, the recipient, is limited. Only a finite light. This world is finite. We are limited, obviously. A result of the tzimtzum, a result of the contractions of Hashem's light, can be invested within the creation and adapt accordingly. So Kacha Mamish, we're on page 59, Charlie. Kacha Mamish, he b'chines ha'ara, mu'etezu, hamislabeshes ba'olam yisrael, yenev tachtonim la'ashpia b'hem l'chayisam. Indeed, this is utterly insignificant as far as the quality of this minute illumination, this little tiny ray that we receive from the Or Ein Sof, after all the contractions, which clothes itself in the higher worlds and the lower worlds in order to provide them with sustenance and life. When we compare this small ray of light, this little bit of godly energy that we receive in this world, when compared to the quality of the hidden and concealed light that is of an infinite order, it's almost nothing compared to. When you take one and you compare it to a trillion, there's some relationship. But when you take this light that animates this physical world and you compare it to the Or Ein Sof, the light of Hashem, there's no comparison. So therefore it's called this surrounding light, which encompasses the worlds, not just the earth, but all of creation. And it doesn't enclose itself inside, it doesn't come in because it's eternal and everlasting, and then it has to come into a finite world. It can't come in. There's no relationship. The aim of Perush Soiviv v'Makif Milmaila b'chinas Mokem Chas v'Shalom. The meaning of this is not that it encircles and encompasses from above, spatially, God forbid. For in spiritual matters, the category of space is in no way applicable. When we say up to the heavens, Gan Eden, up there, we're not talking about, the sky. We're talking about a spiritual heaven. We're talking about spiritual space. So what it really means to say, what's the true meaning? Is that this light, this eternal light of Hashem, the Or Ein Sof, encompasses and encircles from above as far as the revelation that this influence is concerned. So the influence doesn't come in to the Gashmistic world, the finite physical world. It circles around it, so to speak. The influence which is in the category of revelation in the worlds, when we feel Hashem in this world, is refers to being enclosed in the worlds. For the influence that they receive is clothed and comprehended by them, meaning they are able to comprehend and internalize it. So if we could learn about Hashem, if we could hold the Torah and say we're connecting to Hashem, that is Hashem investing himself in the physical world. But the essence of God, the Iyar and Sof, the eternal and everlasting light, that doesn't have the shaykhis to this physical world. It can't. It's like two polar opposites. Mashein kain hashpa. I don't know if that's the right term. Polar opposites here. It's not opposites. It's just there's no. It's not in the same. You can't put it in the same sentence. It's different. Mashein kain. It's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't go. Mashein kain hashpa. She'ena b'chinas gilui ela b'hester elem. But then you have hashpa, which means that Hashem gives influence into this world. He gives chayas, energy, and holiness and spirituality, etc. So how does it come into this world? It comes into this world within the category of revelation, quote unquote, but it remains obscured and concealed and is not apprehended by the worlds, and is described as being invested and also encircling and encompassing them. Everything, even chayes and angels, because they're also a creation. So you could say, okay, so they're 1,000,000 compared to 1,000,000,000,000, but it's yeah, I'm saying it's the same thing, meaning anything that's created, which includes malachim and animals and grass and trees and rocks and human beings and all the spiritual worlds, have no relationship, so to speak, with the Iyar and Sof. So it has to be Hashem contracts and contracts and contracts to the point that the light is now hidden and is somehow in the world. So everything, as far as from the Iyar and Sof perspective, is just surrounding of the worlds and not permeating the worlds. Hilkach, it comes out like this. Therefore, since the worlds belong in the order of finite and limited, there is time and space in these worlds. And actually, even if it's a world there's no time and space, even if it's the heavenly spheres with the malachim, still they are finite and limited. They have one job they can do. They were created. They may be eliminated. Whatever the case may be, there's a beginning and an end. Nimsa comes out. That only an externally minute and contracted reflection of the flow of the infinite light of Hashem clothes and manifests itself in them in a revealed form. So it's the smallest ray of light that we could benefit from. You get close to Lamashal, you get close to the sun, you get burned. You go to a place that's higher in altitude. You better wear proper protection, put on sunscreen, whatever it might be. In the room, you could benefit from it because a little bit of a ray comes in and it's not going to harm you. The windows are tinted, you're far enough away, you're shaded. So only a very small sliver of light that comes in, and you feel it sometimes. On Yom Kippur, maybe on Shabbos when you're davening with your talis over your head, when you hold the Sefer Torah, or in different settings. So in order, and this is only to animate the world in a finite and revealed state. In order for creation to come about, there must be at least a glimmer of godly illumination. It can't be that since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Iyar and Sof infinite and this world is finite, then there's no connection. There has to be a little sliver of light, otherwise the world wouldn't exist. For this enables creation to be finite and bounded. The principal light, the main light of Hashem, the Iyar and Sof, is called makif, which encircles, and soivev encompasses. The kav comes down. There's like a thin line that's like this. What? Hakafa? Yeah, makif, hakafa, exactly. It surrounds. It goes around and around. Soivev, sivivon, sof, right? Spins around and around. Why? Since its influence is not revealed within the worlds, inasmuch as they belong in the order of the infinite and limited. So the obviously after all the tzimtzumim, there's a tiny ray of light, and it has to be. It has to come down. Only God could take something which is infinite and allow it to have a relationship with the finite. Otherwise, we can't do that. We can't take something and say, oh, this infinite has a relationship with the finite, even if it's a trillion times whatever, it's still a number. So there's a relationship. But if it's infinite, then it has no number, and you can't put one next to infinite. Hashem could do that. So the takeaway is, being that Hashem is infinite and the world is finite, which means Hashem is unlimited, and the world obviously has all different limitations, then there must be an infinite energy that does not penetrate the limitations of the world, and that remains pristine above the world and encompasses the world. As we mentioned at the end, a tiny little sliver of light has to come in, and that's when we talk about how Hashem gives us life and energy. Hashem gives the animal kingdom, the angels, the birds in the sky, the fish, and even the rocks and the inanimate objects need some godly energy in order to keep them alive, and only God can do such a thing. And that comes after numerous symptomim. I want to remind everyone that the whole purpose of this exercise is to realize that the infinite HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with bending the laws of nature to bring the infinite into the finite, cares about every single one of us and wants to have that relationship and wants you to connect to him through the study of Torah and performance of mitzvahs. Have a wonderful day. See you, Mitzvah, tomorrow.